Hi, and welcome to episode 43 of Girlfriends Knitting. My name is Carolyn, and I go by Caw Shirley on Plurk and Ravelry. And this is my first episode back for the last 3 weeks. It's been a rough 3 weeks, as many of you know. And so I'm going to talk about some things to do with that, but there's no telling what the emotions will be today. My emotions are all over the place, from cracking up laughing one minute to bawling the next, and that's just to be expected right now with the loss of a parent. So I will be breathing a lot because I start talking and grinning and forgetting to breathe, and that's just one of my many coping mechanisms right now. So first of all, I want to talk about a happy note. It was my mom's birthday yesterday, and I hope she had a wonderful birthday. She was going to eat some Cajun food. You know, we're from South Louisiana originally. And she was going to go eat Cajun last night. And I'm not sure if my brother or anybody went with her, or if some of her friends went with her, but I haven't talked to her yet this morning. My brother and I had both called her first thing yesterday morning to wish her a happy birthday. So if you are on the boards, many of you know her. She's spun cotton on Ravelry. And so go and wish her a happy birthday on Ravelry. She will get a kick out of that. Feel free to link her. She is on the internet usually regularly at night. I don't know how often she's checking Ravelry, but go ahead and send her a shout out. So that's something that's good that's happening right now. Let me talk about the happies from Christmas, because we did try and focus on making it as happy a Christmas as we possibly could, despite the fact that Dad passed away 3 days before. I was just writing notes from last episode so I could reference what I talked about last time, and I realized that I found out 30 minutes after I recorded that episode. So that's emotional for me right now. Okay, so happy stuff. My sister-in-law loved her socks. So I made her the 50 Shades of Grey socks, and I showed y'all last time, and she loved them. I got my brother's quilt finished up. It needed the binding sewn on, and so I was able to do that while we were driving out to Dallas, which had been my plan. And of course, all my uncles had come in, and some of my cousins were there, and they all just loved it because it was their dad and grandfather that the quilt was for. So that was very good. And then I want to say it was one of Mom's friends that pointed out to me that the pattern I had picked, I don't know, I've been working on this quilt for 8 years. Maybe that was intentional 8 years ago. I don't remember it being intentional, but the pattern was named Hole in the Barn Door. He always had a barn. The barn was like his place. When I think of Pop, I can't think of him without thinking of a barn. And so the fact that the pattern that I picked for his quilt was Hole in the Barn Door just was perfect. I had knit Daddy a hat, and I gave it to my nephew instead, and so he was very excited to get that. I'm going to move on from that real quick. I got signature needles! My brother, who is the best brother ever in the entire world, only because he gave me signature needles right now, I'm big. He decided that we were going to go on an online shopping spree in our PJs Christmas morning. And so we sat down, and he said, I want to get you the Ferrari of knitting needles. And I was like, well, okay, if you insist. And so he gave me some sort of, parameters, and I picked out 3 signature circs, and I am so excited. And as soon as I got back from Dallas, they were at my house waiting on me, and I have been knitting up a storm with them. So that has been so much fun. I did not get Mom's Spectra finished. She did get a wrapped work in progress, which cracked her up. And she has decided that she wants to finish it. And so she will be finishing it at night while she is watching TV, she said. So I'm going to be sending her my copy of the pattern because it's for the same actual object so I don't feel like I'm hurting Stephen West's copyright because I'm giving her the pattern because it's for the same object. If she was making her own, I would have bought her own copy of the pattern. So I'm going to be sending that off to her so that she can finish her spectra. She loved it. What else? I got some finished objects that are new. The Frog and Turtle by Susan B. Anderson was finished. I don't have pictures handy to show you. They're on my camera, which my brain is not working right now, and I know y'all understand. So they are on my camera at home. So I'm not going to upload them to the podcast today. But I will be uploading them to Ravelry, so you can check out my Ravelry page, frog/turtle, and take a look at that. I did not get it done in time for the SSK, and I just don't care right now. If I don't win raffle prizes, that's not going to hurt my feelings. As a matter of fact, if I had done every single thing and gotten the majority of raffle tickets, with my luck, I still wouldn't have won any of the raffle prizes. And so it doesn't bother me at all that my chances of winning are less. Somebody wonderful will win the prizes. What else did I get finished? Oh, I do have some that I can show you. Well, let me tell you about this one first, because these are actually finished, ends woven in and everything. And that is Chelsea's sweater. She loves it, and I am so proud of it. It is my first adult size garment. She's 17, so she's adult sized. Or she's soon. Yeah, she's 17. My brain. Y'all love me. You forgive me. So it's adult sized. As a matter of fact, I can fit it if it's very snug on me, if it's very loose on her. But it's that size, sort of a largish size. She loves it, and I'm very proud of it. And I believe I have a picture on my phone of her in that. And so if so, I will insert that in here. So that's my baby. I didn't birth her. I just claim her. So, but that's my babe. Another finished object that I have a photo of the person wearing is Amy's adorable grandfather. We call him Granddaddy. And as I lost all four of my grandparents before I finished high school. Well, one was after high school, but anyway, I claim Amy's grandparents as my own, and I adore them. And him and I were picking on each other at New Year's about the fact that he has this really pitiful little hat. And I said, you can't wear that hat. I've got to knit you a better hat than that. And so I went home immediately and cast him on this hat, and I used my leftover Dream in Color Smushy that is a cashmere base, and I used some really pretty charcoal wool. So that way, even if it's wet, if it's warm, whatever, he has this awesome, wonderful hat to wear. And Amy took it to him while I was at work one day this week, and he just loved it, and he looked so cute in it. So I have a picture to show you of him wearing it, and Amy told him that it would be on the podcast today, and he doesn't believe that hundreds of you will be seeing him in this hat. He just can't imagine that. He's in his 80s. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's in his 80s, and he is just so sweet. So that's another object that I finished. I was working on several other objects in the meantime, and I stopped everything and did that. And I think in doing that, and I'm blaming Megan, and I've already told her I'm blaming her on this, I think I've caught Megan's monogamy bug. Because lately I have been like, oh no, I can't work on any other project because I have to finish this one. And that's just, I've caught her monogamy bug. It's catching, so be careful. So let me show you some of the almost finished that I'm going to call them finished objects. First of all, despite the fact that I actually finished these socks before I left Dallas and could have given them to my lovely niece, I didn't. The only thing left is to weave in the ends, and they have been sitting at my house for a week and a half. Still haven't had the ends woven in, still aren't mailed off to her. So, you know, I have a 2-year-old gorgeous little niece. If y'all have seen my cats in the cradle hat pattern, that is her as a baby, and she's just so beautiful. And so here are her cute little mini sugar plum socks. They look just like Jilly's. Of course, Jilly's are human-sized, and these are baby-sized. And so I've got to weave the ends in on these, and then they will be headed off to her. So that is some red heart and soul yarn and bamboo and you in purple and then in pink sugar. So there you go. That's one. The other is another Christmas present. And I think the last of the Christmas presents. I'm in complete shock that other than Mom's Spectra, I got every single one of the insane number of Christmas presents that I had planned to knit done. So I'm very proud of that. And the only thing I have left to do on these is, as you can see, I need to Kitchener the heel on this one. But these awesome sauce socks, and I have them folded funny, so they're going to look funny. But these awesome sauce socks are Desert Vista Dye Works, custom dye job. She custom dyed me a Mickey Mouse colorway for Amy, who is a Mickey Mouse nut. And I put in, as you can tell, an afterthought heel. I also noticed that on the 41st episode, I talked all about toes. I plan to do an episode all about heels. And I'm going to get all my different socks that have different heels and show you some of the different heel constructions and what my thoughts are on the different heel constructions. So be looking for that in an upcoming episode. But these have an afterthought heel. The Desert Vista Dye Works yarn, if you have never bought any, I highly recommend that you do. It is wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I knocked these, they're plain vanilla because I really wanted to show off the striping. And I knocked these puppies out in like 2 evenings. It was so addictive and fun. And I just love it to death. The yellow is showing up as like this bright neon yellow on camera. It's not. It's more of a goldenrod in real life. They are the exact, if I took a Mickey Mouse and held it up here next to these socks, they are the exact colors. So she did a wonderful job on that. And I don't have my any needles of any sort here, so I don't have a darning needle or anything to finish them off, or I would have done that this morning in preparation for the podcast. I would have even had a chance to weave in the ends on Miss L's socks. And then the last thing, as you have seen, first let me remove this. Hold on. Another one of my awesome little Christmas presents, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Great, now I can't keep it to myself because it's caught in my knitting. It's a bracelet my sister-in-law gave. Brother and sister-in-law. Okay. So let me pull my sleeves up so y'all can see. So some little cuffies that I'm going to say I designed. It's not like it's a big fancy thing. It's just a lattice work stitch on the main body and 1x1 ribbing on the hand and cuff. Yes, their ends are not woven in on them either, but I'm freezing in my office. Some of you who've been out on Plurk have heard that the heat in my office is not working. Luckily, I am in North Mississippi where it is cold, but it's not freezing. So I can deal with just some nice woolies and stay fairly warm. But that's why I have them on, despite the fact that the ends are not woven in. Again, the ends would have been woven in if I'd have remembered to bring a darning needle, but I did not. So let's see, is that everything? Yes, huge amount of finished objects. So then I'm on this monogamy kick, and the first thing that I did is a hat for Amy, because she is obsessed with hats, and I wanted to use my signature needles. So these are some size 4, 40 inch, because I love to do magic loops. So I wanted to make sure that they were long enough that I could magic loop with them. Let me show you the pattern. Tiers of Bronze. So basically it's a stocking knit cap with a little fancy panel on it. And I'm using some Eco Alpaca that my dad bought for me. As a matter of fact, this is the same yarn that I made my brother's strawn out of. And I love this yarn. I love these needles. I like the pattern. The three are not going together. This is the third attempt. I'm holding it right over my eyes, I'm sorry. This is the third attempt. It is knit flat, which first of all, I don't really care for. But after reading more of the pattern, I do get the idea of why it's knit flat. But I still don't like it. I've tried writing the pattern to make it in the round. So yeah, I keep ripping out and redoing. I mean, I'll get like 6 inches and then rip out and start over. It's a hat. It's not like it's going to take me forever. But, so in my monogamy, I said, this blank ain't working. So I put it away. But it is something that I have been working on, so I did want to show you. And something I do hope to finish, because Amy wants a black/charcoal gray hat, so she can wear it with more stuff, because most of her hats are pretty wild colors. So then, this is completely because of the fact that I'm freezing in my office. I pulled out a pattern that I had been working on briefly before all of the craziness with Dawn, who's Knitting Wolf, Amy, Froggy Monkey, Emily, Ooh Fancy Pants, she's the What She's Watching podcast. So there's several of us who were going to knit this. I think Megan of Stocking Knit Zombies knit one too. It's the Rocky Coast cardigan. No, I'm just showing you abbreviations. That's not a big deal. I got worried when I saw the writing that I was showing you something I shouldn't. Hold on just a second. Let me see what that... Okay, so this is the podcast of endless interruptions, but that's okay. This, again, is the Rocky Coast cardigan by Hannah Fetting. I had cast on with my Aslan knits in Militaire color. And I'm in the middle of a row, so it's in a big circly loop. I had done about 2 inches before November. And then it got kind of set to the side. And because I've been freezing cold, I pulled it back out. I am loving how it's looking. The color is a little off. It's a lot more olive. It's got lots of gold undertones in the actual cardigan. It's a very pretty color on camera, but it's a very different color off camera. So this is the beginning. I'm to the point where I'm only increasing on the sleeves. And it is the only thing I've been working on for the last several days. And I've not been knitting as much as I normally do. But that's okay too. Just being kind to myself. So those are my projects. So let me talk about fitness. Obviously, fitness is going to become a very important part of my life. It is not yet, because right now I'm taking the advice of many of you, of many of my friends in person versus my friends that I talk to online, and just trying to really be kind to myself. That does involve needing to exercise, needing to eat right, things like that. But I'm not beating myself up when I don't. I'm just trying to relax, take time to do what I want to do, take time to cry when I need to cry, take time to enjoy myself. So with that in mind, I'm not worrying about obligation knitting. I had wanted to start a new knit along at the beginning of this year for the Girlfriends Knitting Group. I don't plan on doing that just yet. What I am going to do is something more informal, probably not with prizes, which is a thread about what are you knitting just for you. Now, whether that means you're knitting something specifically for yourself, where it's a garment or something that you are going to use, or whether you're knitting it because, like me, I wanted to use the signature needles. So the project itself may not end up being for you, but you're knitting it for yourself. I wanted to use my signature needles. I wanted to use that ball of cashmere that I've been saving. That sort of thing. So what are you knitting just to make yourself happy? And so I'm going to open up a thread about that. And again, it's not going to be a formal knit along like I had originally intended it to be, simply because I don't want the stress right now of focusing on that or moderating that. But I do hope that you will have some fun things that you're knitting for yourself. Because a lot of us, we've spent so much time this last few months focusing on knitting for others that now it's like, okay, it's my turn to be selfish. And that's what I'm doing right now too. So I hope you will let us in on your little happy projects. And there are tons of other knit-alongs out there. Right now, I'm not even worrying about them. Normally, I'm very much a participator. And as y'all know from watching the podcast, I love participating in the knit-alongs. I'm going to knit what I'm going to knit right now. And I'm going to be happy with that. And I'm going to show it to you. And I'm hope that you will enjoy seeing it. And if you don't, oh well, I'll still love you anyway. That's just how it's going to be. So, that's going to be it for this week. Now it's time to go grab me some lunch and then come back and splice all this happiness and craziness and crime fits together. And I love you guys. I'll see you next week.